Hello. So I had a very interesting morning. The fire alarm went off like for the whole building, so we have to evacuate. So anyway, I bought this hojicha tea yesterday at the convenient Japanese shop behind Woolies at Town Hall Station in Sydney. If you know where they are, you know it's just on Pitt Street. That's the main entrance, but if you go from Woolworths, you can go to the back door and through. It will be on your left. But yeah, I finally got my hojicha tea. It was $5-ish, under $5, but they have like $8 ones. Also, I just bought the cheaper one, and it's all in Japanese, and it has 22 pieces in it, because they have like a little bit of a variety selection. So I was pretty happy with that actually. And I put 2 bags in here for a cold one so that I can taste. Because it's 30 degrees today in Sydney. You know what? This is like barley tea. This tastes like barley tea. But I can't drink barley tea because it's highly gluten. It has the wheat. It was made by from wheat, I think. So hojicha is similar taste. It's also like, yeah, it's, but anyway, finally I got my hojicha. I'm not sure if I got there my thoughts yet, but hello. So just before we start, my merch arrived yesterday. This week has been very, I don't know, chaotic. Internally it was chaotic, and I think physically it was chaotic. I'm not sure what's going on and what's happening. I feel like it just felt really up and down. Maybe it was the hormones from, you know, from my period, but I think it can also be like maybe because I was drinking green tea and I'm still very insecure about my face. But here we are. Oh yeah, the merch, you can get it from the link description below. It's on Redbubble. So I bought this from Redbubble. So I wrote this I think like last week or something. Forever misunderstood. I got my hat also. That's merched up. Yo. When I was like 16, I really wanted to be like, you know, that was like the R&B era, like, you know, when Snoop Dogg, and also like that song, it's like, hello Mrs. Jackson, na 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 na. So like, yeah, I grew up in that era. That's how I spent my my late teens, hanging out and that, like, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, I think this is a bit too much if I wear both, but one is okay. Anyway, so what are we going to talk about today? I saw the questions on the comment. It was saying, how do you feel like living with someone now? Does it change does the social aspect make it good or bad? To be honest, it's not really much different, because the person I'm living with right now is very busy, and they just come home to work from work and just, you know, basically just decompress by themselves and the room, so we don't interact much at all. We just say like a couple words of pleasantries, like, hey, how are you? And then they just say something about our day, something interesting, like a couple words here and there. Most of them are spent in silence. This is an introvert home apparently, and we are basically quite distracted with our own devices, with our TVs, with our phones, with our iPads and stuff. So there's no hard feelings. I think like in a lot of ways, our personalities is about maybe 50% similar, so that's enough to not to have many differences, like not to have any, like, you know, annoyances with each other so much. We just, you know, yeah, basically it's not much different than when I was living alone. And so my circumstances is not much different, to be honest. And they have like friends and family out of state, so they go out of state every now and then, periodically every month or so, or every, you know, other week. It depends how busy they are. So it's not much difference. Like we're just like two ships kind of like passing through the night. Yeah, basically a very textbook flatmate roommate situation. Like polite to each other, make sure that we understand our boundaries and understand, like, you know, where we stand, and it's working out okay so far. Knock on wood. But that's what happened, or what's happening. For me, it's not much different. It doesn't affect my, like, it doesn't make it good or bad. I'm just living through. Well, one thing that is different, it means like I do have to pause a lot of mental breakdown. I noticed this, like as soon as they are away for a little bit, like out of the state, for example, I would have all my emotional breakdown like throughout the period. Like I would just have an emotional cleanse, and like, you know, having a basic like crying, because you can't really cry when they're here, so it's like you don't want to make them worried or anything, because it's not like I'm crying because, I don't know, my body is failing or something. But anyway, yeah, so it's just like that. Like, you know, the privilege of living alone is basically you can cry while you're cooking, you can cry while you're doing chores, you can cry doing all of this. But, you know, if there is someone there, usually you just have to cry in private when you're alone. So trying to find that alone time is it's still available, but not as much as before, I guess. It's not necessarily bad, it's not necessarily good, it's just it's paused, I guess. Of like in the past, if I have something I need to process, it probably got processed within 1 week. But because there are people around, it, you know, it's like maybe like processed in half a year or something. I don't know. We're not half a year yet. But yeah, that's probably a very bad explanation of my state, of whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, or whether, you know, anyway. So incoherent. So yeah, so far it's working, I think. I'm just worried for them most of the time because I think they spend too much time working. But they have their own life, they have their own network, so stuff like that. So I'm not a part of that. I'm just here trying to make sure that they don't overwork themselves so that they can go back to their families in one piece. Also there's another question. What would I do if I win $1 million overnight? So there are like 2 people asking the question, so there are not a lot of questions, which is good probably, because I won't know how to logistically pick questions if there are a lot. If I won $1 million overnight, I probably won't do much. I just pay off my debt and put 100 grand in my EFT account, which is like an investment account, and put the rest in a high yield saving account. And that's probably it. I know like $1 million would definitely make me feel a lot safer, make me feel a lot more grounded, make me feel a lot less anxiety. So I think it will do a lot more internally, mentally and emotionally for me, but I won't do anything different. Well, no, there's probably a lot more shopping vlogs and a lot of haul vlogs coming if I want $1 million. So yeah, probably I would just you know, after I put $100,000 in my investment account, pay out of my debt, and maybe I'll take about 20,000 to go shopping and just have a really crazy spree and holiday. That's including holiday. And the rest I would just put into a high yield saving account and wait probably 4 or 5 years, and just settle down a little bit, like emotionally, and maintaining a healthy nervous system. I want $1 million. With $1 million, I'm not sure if I would buy my own apartment or my own place, mainly because you can't get much in Sydney for $1 million. You probably can get a studio for like 600,000 somewhere in Western Sydney, and you probably will have to pay a lot of money for maintenance, for like, you know, council rate, strata fees in Sydney is huge, so you won't be able to get away with much in Sydney with $1 million, unfortunately. Of course, like I can always look outside Sydney and look, you know, overseas maybe, but I don't know, I live here, this is home. So yeah, I will just stick it in the bank and then have a 20k shopping spree and travel spree. But even with, you know, with the spree, I probably would still buy economy class. As I say, like, it would definitely change my life, because it would definitely, like, I'm not trying to be arrogant or anything, like, it definitely like would make my nervous system calm down so much. But in the overall scheme of things, I feel like $1 million doesn't really make my mind blown. It probably just going to be a little bit of shock to the system, but my lifestyle and stuff probably won't change much, because if I stick about 800 grand, for example, in a high yield account, saving account, it will be like 4%, and 4% of 8,800 is probably around 32 grand a year. So I'm probably just going to accumulate that interest for a little bit and let it does its thing until I figure out what I want to do, because it's a weird amount of money. Because like if I win $10 million overnight or $50 million, that would make me feel like shit, what am I going to do with my life? Like, this is such a mind-boggling amount. I am so overwhelmed. I mean, $1 million is a manageable amount, and it's big enough to make you feel safe, but it's not big enough for you to buy your dream house in Australia. Because if you buy it, but if you don't have the money for the maintenance, strata, and everything, you won't be able to maintain that property for 2 years even. So, because I've seen all the bills that comes from like owning apartments here, even though I'm not the owner of this apartment. So I've seen like what's the expenses are, and they're huge. So what I mean is like $1 million if you buy an apartment will make you struggle still. So the best way is not to buy a property, because I don't have income coming in that large amount of money. Unless you can multiply that money and make it larger, then that's a different story. No, probably I would take a few thousand, maybe, yeah, maybe another 50 grand to start a business or something, but I don't know. What else is there? A question. Do I have a support network? I don't really have a support network actually. I am seeing a therapist, but we are at the tail end of our sessions. So I basically just go to the GP in Australia. We have like a mental health care plan, which is basically you can apply, you can get like a referral from your GP to get like 10 free mental health sessions with a psychologist. And I am on my 7th, so I still have 3 more to go, but I'm gonna stagger it until March, so it's like maybe once every 2 months from now on. So that's one support network. I don't particularly have any daily friends or family, so I am very lacking in the support network thing. I would like to have someone in my daily life that is supportive of me, and of course, like preferably I would be the same towards them as well. But yeah, so I don't really have any support system. My support emotional system is my manhwa, which is a Korean comic books or graphic novels. Well, I say Korean, mostly Asian, so just because I read a lot of morally Korean comic books these days. So that's my number one emotional support network. Hold on, I'm still hungry. I have eggs still. Do I want romantic relationship? I think it'll be difficult because I myself am unable to maintain like a normal friendship. I think to maintain friendship and relationship, you have to be able to do daily communication, like be in an actual daily contact with them. And I can't do it. If they're in my immediate space, I probably won't say much either. I think it has to be divine intervention for a romantic relationship to happen. I find it to be really difficult just connecting with people in general. So yeah, I definitely feel like this urge to marry though, mainly because I was looking at someone's on YouTube. I think I said this in my vlog. Someone on YouTube getting married, and I was following this YouTuber ever since he was like 200 subscribers. And his journey and stuff. What funny was like I saw how this guy basically went from somewhere in the USA going to Korea to basically explore his culture and his root, because one of his parents is Korean. I feel like I can't just talk to the camera like normal person. I have to do something so I can keep talking. Is that a neurodivergent thing? I don't know. And then what funny was like when they did this, I was still like doing a lot of, well, not still, but like back in 8 years ago, I was involved in Africa TV global streaming, which is like Africa TV was trying to basically expand to the US to gain some market share for, you know, international streaming people. Long story short, I tried it, like I tried streaming on there, and the global version basically got shut down because it didn't work out after a year or two. But because I was streaming there, I got to know some people, like not some people, but like the community in that global Africa TV streaming community. And the weird part was like this YouTuber, when they moved to Korea, suddenly is like my world, like I'm seeing it on screen, is merging into like they become a part of that community, the Africa TV community that I was a part of. And I was like, wow, like it's so weird, like seeing how like in the internet is so small. I want to say the world, but no, the internet was so small. And if you want to know what I'm doing, I am emptying this marmalade jar because I bought it in 2021, and it's still full. But anyway, so like the community, like part of the community is like become his, and now it's just like it has nothing to do with me, like his world has nothing to do with me whatsoever. But I felt like, wow, things can change so dramatically, and this person that I don't know is just a random strangers on YouTube. Suddenly I feel like the degree of separation post like become really small. Like I feel like if I go to Korea right now, like this person could be part of my, you know, circle over there. Like this was like back a few years, because I have a contact there that is a part of their circle, and their circle is part of their circle. And I think the expat community is quite small over there. I'm not talking about like being interested in them as if like, you know, being a fangirl. No, I'm just talking about how small it is, like the world. Anyway, I know like the first topic was marriage, but like when I saw them getting married and everything, it was really nice to have that kind of partnership, I think. And I like because they documented this a few years back as well. Like they were saying how, oh yeah, they have plans for their spouse and what to do. They have a solid like financial plan, like this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going to do, and because I'm gonna marry you, you are also gonna receive the benefits of my plans, of my financial plans. And I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool, that's pretty good, like, you know. So I don't know, I want to have that feeling, I guess, to be a part of someone's good plans, and like being a part of someone's solid financial plan. And it's nice, but I think what's most important is like it's nice to be included in someone's life plan in a good way, not you know, just being used and then discarded, which what I feel like my experiences with life so far, and it's highly uncomfortable. Like this morning, I basically had this realization, like I deserve to exist, and I cried. Anyway, I cried this week so much, maybe because I'm tired and I'm just overly exhausted by doing normal people stuff. Because like I know some people do like 5 errands in a day, and I am barely doing one. So I'm putting the marmalade jam in this, because I am gonna walk over to the garden and then I'm gonna chuck it in the I'm gonna chuck it in the compost bin, I think. Because we can't, I feel like I don't want to waste the whole jar. And I think I'm gonna buy another one in the supermarket today. To be honest, I bought it because the the design is good. I like the design. It's so pretty. But yeah, so I feel like I'm so yeah, I like to want to have a, I think I had a discussion about this yesterday as well with someone. I'm trying to be as vague as possible and not be specific because I want to be normal, because if I say like this and this, it's highly specific and then people can tell who they are and blah blah blah. But I know I'm not that popular, so it's probably just more a precaution rather than a paranoia. Because in the past I would definitely just point out like who and who, and apparently that's not allowed. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I mean, anyway, like I was talking to someone and then I was saying that my ideal is still the same, because I remember saying this in a vlog like earlier in the year. It's like I want to have someone maknae adult of a chaebol family, which is the youngest but not the only boy or man in the family. So I want them to be the youngest of all the siblings, but I don't want them to be the only male. If there are like 5 siblings, I don't want them to be the only male. I want like at least there is one male older than them, or 2 older than them, that is managing the family business. But as they say, like someone that I was talking about, let's say, yeah, you want them to be part of the trust fund, but you don't want them to be part of the people who are managing the trust funds. And I'm like, correct. Yeah, because I want them to receive so much love from their family, and it's like I want to receive that extension of love as well from my partner, from this husband, and from their family as well, because I feel like the situation, I want them to be so rich that the only thing that they care about is his happiness. And I want him to have a slightly personality problems towards his family, but his family loves him so much they just overlook it and they just don't want to be on his bad side. But I want this husband to be only behaving when I'm around. Under my influence, he becomes a good boy. But I feel like just because of his bad personality doesn't mean that he's an irresponsible person, doesn't mean that he's an immature person. It just means like, you know, probably he feels safe around his family and he can just say whatever. And I don't mean like it's like childish stuff, not like serious abuse and serious, you know, violent type of thing. No. I feel like it's just much more about like bratty situation type. It's like innocent, childish stuff that is cute when they're younger, but it's not cute anymore now when he's 40. But their family still think is cute. Anyway, am I being too specific? But yeah, so him and his future wife would still have at least, I don't know, maybe receive $10 million a year in their trust fund. So I would like to marry a billionaire family, please, that actually have a very functional relationship between each other and love each other very much and very protective and actually kind and caring. As I say, this is definitely a pie in the sky dream. But yeah, it hasn't changed much. Mainly because I want a family, I guess, that is not only financial, like I don't want to swap being a human being with having lots of money. No, if I want to be greedy, I'm gonna be greedy for it all. I'm gonna be wanting marriage to family who is not only loving but rich. I want my mother-in-law to love me more than she does her own kid. No, I want her to love him too, but like in a more like, adult way, more like saying, you're an adult now, you should behave better for your kid, for your wife, be on my side. Because I don't have family, so if I get into a fight and I'm marrying into a billionaire family, I'll be in a very serious disadvantage. So the politics is very real. What else was there, question-wise? Well, I can't recall. I think that's it, right? I don't know if I want to be married, but I don't know if it's possible or not. I'm 40. My goal is just to pray to God that my luck will turn. And I realized yesterday, even if I have money, I don't think I will be much different. I don't think I'll go from a soppy, pessimistic person to a very optimistic person. And I realized I think I will be a hypocrite as well. I don't think I'll be like going out there and helping people, building orphanages, building schools, building libraries. Maybe if I were in charge of a billionaire's family's philanthropic goal foundation branch of their whole group, I probably would start definitely giving those ideas, building communities where women and children, especially female daughters, the priorities of for education, for training, for building community and taking care of each other. I probably will suggest that, because I feel like there are too much. I don't even have to look up the studies on this. I know, like, if you invest in women, community will thrive. But yeah, what else is there? I love this hojicha tea right now. We don't have to pay $8 for a hojicha latte. I can just buy oat milk and then make it in, like, heat it up in the microwave and then fluff it up and then pour hojicha tea over. Ooh, hojicha latte. I still probably go just for, like, to unwind and stuff. What else is there to talk about? I just checked all self-soothing techniques. Well, my self-soothing techniques is just havening technique. It's the same technique that I've been using for the past 8 years. Is havening technique, which is an extension of EMDR. So if you go on YouTube and you click EMDR techniques, it probably will explain it better than me, or Google. But this is havening technique. I got this from Paul McKenna. He is a hypnotist. So if you search Paul McKenna, which is Paul Paul McKenna, a hypnotist, and you go havening technique, which is HAVENING technique, you'll get information that way on YouTube. So it's just basically the principle behind it is that if you touch the back of your hands and this area and also your face, it will trigger your delta waves in your brain, because this area is a high traffic area of touch when you were a baby, and that's associated with calming signals to the brain when we were developing. So if you do that, it will trigger it again in the brain, so it will help you to calm down. And you can get the science behind it yourself on Google or on YouTube. So I would do this, and then for like continually until the strong emotion has passed. Or you can also do bilateral stimulation like this. This is very good for anxiety, but I like the havening technique a lot more because I got to know this first. And the EMDR technique is basically when you go like this, like your eyes follow from side to side. And if you get tired, you can go to YouTube as well, and you can click EMDR self-administration, and what would happen is just there would be a ball of light in the video, and the ball of light will ping pong from one side to another, and then you just follow that ball of light, because this is what your EMDR therapy will do to you as well. Like even like right now, my therapist got his gadgets and stuff for EMDR, but it's basically doing the same thing. It costs them $1,000 and stuff, but for you it can be free. You can just go to YouTube and just you know, just search it. So basically the point is for your eyes to do this, because EMDR I think stands for eye movement desensitization. What is the R for? Something. Or so it's like the whole point is so that you don't go too far the extreme of fight and flight, and it helps regulate your nervous system. So I do this every time I have like an extreme dysregulated emotions. It's not as bad now, but when there is a constant stressor in my life that is hard, I can do this for like hours every single day. And I know like most people aren't able to do that, because you have to kind of dissociate and then work full time, dissociate and take care of your children. So I think if you have time, maybe 10 minutes in your car or something, or in the toilet, and then you know everything is overwhelming and you can't process it, this is a best way. And recently I also started to on YouTube learn somatic healing, which is involving releasing your body slowly from a state of freeze, because this year I think I went from hyperarousal, basically go so deep into freeze mode where I am unable to function at all. So that was really bad. I'm slowly coming out of it, maybe, but I don't know. Maybe I have dissociated so thoroughly because you know, I'm living with someone else, so I have to mask. I think the biggest thing about having someone around is that I'm masking again, and that's not good for my nervous system. Which is probably why when they're not around I cry, because you know it's tiring to mask, and it has something to do with them. They're good people. So yeah, so this is what I do for self-soothing. And also yesterday, after I had that really massive anxiety day, I filled up on my magnesium again. I took about 3 pills yesterday on the street of Sydney at George Street, and over the course of the next hour after I took it, my body calmed down a lot. So I guess a lot of supplements also get involved in the self-soothing thing, but it's definitely tailored for me specifically. It has nothing to do with like trying to influence people to get supplements. But yeah, so this one is free and this one doesn't have a side effect. So yeah, and I'm serious. This is what I did. This is what shifted me, because up until 2016, I think I was just trying to think my way through out of my trauma or out of my dysregulated state. And it wasn't until even up to this point, I was also tapping, because I was in so much physical pain as well, mainly because I wasn't eating, because I didn't have money to buy food. So my body was just reacting to whatever was going on at that time. So even though I was doing EFT, like tapping, it wasn't as effective as, you know, doing the havening technique plus with the EMDR as well. This is also part of the havening technique, but I think most people are just a lot more familiar with EMDR. The best thing about this is that you don't have to verbalize what you're going through. Yeah, you don't have to verbalize it, so it's just for your nervous system, and your nervous system is silent anyway because the nervous system developed before your brain, like in evolutionary stages. Not in your, I don't know if it is when in your developmental inside your mom's womb, but like back then when we were still not even animals yet, when we probably were still like sea creatures somewhere in the sea, and still building our nervous system up from the ground. But yeah, so that's my self-soothing technique that I've been using and works for me. So it might not work for you, so don't continue if it doesn't work for you. Don't be like me. Like CBT didn't work for me and I just kept going until I hit a wall. Like, why is this not working? But also I think, I don't know, like lately it's like having a dysregulated nervous system is really crazy. It's like sometimes I have glimpses of regulation. I have days sometimes where, not weeks, but days where my nervous system feels normal, and I felt like, oh, this is what a normal person feel like. And in those days I feel like, wow, I'm 40 and I have nothing to show for. I haven't done anything to build my life up. And I realized, like, because I wasn't able to hold the vibration of wellness, because I wasn't well. I was pretending to be well, but that only worked so far. That only worked for so long. It doesn't work forever. So yeah, so there will be a point where it was just being, you know, pulled from under you, and everything, just like your house of cards that you built is so fragile, it will just collapse. And that's where I am now, and I am definitely feeling vulnerable with my life, because I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not saying, like, you know, and stuff. Life is unfair, and yes it is, but I feel like, let's pretend that, you know, there is no unwritten rules for how an adult should be behaving and should be thinking and should be doing. Let's just pretend that the world is kind and the world is, you know, understanding. I feel like I feel like I'm a child again, and I'm trying to restore my child inside of me, and I'm struggling because I don't know how to move forward as a 40-year-old person, and at the same time trying to heal my inner child that is extremely tangible in my visceral feeling wise. I mean, I feel like they have so much control over my life, and I feel as a society, I feel like, oh, they shouldn't have an inner child control you as much. But I feel like if I don't follow what this person inside of me wants to do and wants to heal, it will hold the rest of my life ransom. And I don't want to make them to be a bad person or a bad spirit. Is this conversation taking a very weird way? I think so. I feel like, I don't know, I'm just still stuck. I'm not sure how to finish the healing. I feel like, you know, I don't think this have any end whatsoever to trying to fix this problem. Like, child, you just have to deal with this, okay? Yes, our past sucks, but there's nothing we can do about that now. We just have to move on. But I feel like I'm not allowed to move on. And I feel like my first instinct also to blame myself is like, oh, you're the person who made this decision, so you can't really complain that you got here and you got nothing to show for. You the one that are making the bad decision yourself. So you choose this life right now that you're having. You have chosen it over and over again by not taking any actions to get where you want to go. And that voice is definitely very strong in my psyche. But at the same time, I feel like living a life that you don't want to live or unable to live, like a fake life, it will be confusing for you. It will be very, you will wonder, why am I not having the responses that other people are having? When I look around, when they have all of this, they're having all these responses, but why don't I? Why don't I feel happy like these people? Why don't I feel fulfilled like these people? It's like a lot of people want to show other people that they're doing better than the other people and have that one up them. And I think that's a very common norm compared to other people, but it's very cosmetic, meaning like it's surface level. It doesn't really go deep down into your soul satisfaction of that activity, and it's so expensive to do it. But yeah, I'm also doing planning to do my chores today, everything, so that I can not do anything over the weekend, because it's spring now. They should not have any off-peak or peak hours. There should just be like a shoulder rate for electricity, right? But at the same time, I feel like as an adult, I really want, as a 40-year-old person, I want to not have to think whether I have enough money to buy lunch. I don't have to think whether I have enough money to buy groceries, which I am feeling right now. Also, lately, I'm having a flashes of thoughts. It's not a solid thought. It's not a done thought yet. It's not the end yet. I think maybe about 10% being processed right now. So it's probably not going to be well articulated. But I'm having this 10% thought process of, am I cosplaying as an Australian too much? Because I feel like, am I embracing, because I feel like an Australian is a battler kind of attitude. It's a stoic kind of attitude, meaning like, you know, we suffer here. I see people around me, like, you know, there's a lot of, and this is probably definitely my own, you know, my own mind, like working there. It's definitely not, it's a projection. It's definitely not how it actually is out there. This is how my perceptions of what Australians to be. Because I feel like when I see other people who have who don't live here locally, I'm thinking, I think that used to be me. Like I'm having that glimpses, like that used to be me. You know, they're not attached as much to the Australian lifestyle. They're not attached as to the Australian like local things, you know. Like nowadays I care so much about whether the footpath has been fixed by council or not, or, you know, when we see the dead bird, whether I should call council on it or not. You know, when there is you know, my local post office being shut down for good, I'm like, I care about that because this is where I live. This is my home. Australia is my home. So, but for people who are temporary residents, people who are, you know, will have this idea that, oh yeah, I'll go home, or I'll relocate somewhere else anyway, so it's not a big deal. I just have to put up with this for a few years or something, for a few, like for another extended period of time. It's not forever, but and they are able to do that because they have money to move around, so they have mobility, upward mobility as well. So while I don't, and I'm here and I'm stuck, and I feel like, oh, have I become Australian? Have I become one of the battlers that, you know, like struggling to keep going, and, you know, worrying about benefits, Medicare. I'm not on Centrelink, so I'm not on benefits. I tried to be on Centrelink on like the job seeker in 2015, like 9 years ago, and I did not do very well at all. No, was it 9 years ago? Maybe it was 8 years ago. I did not do very well because the constant, I'm pretty sure it's changed now, like the system probably changed now. It's probably everything is like electronical and everything have to be done like on your, you know, portal or whatever. But back then you have to report physically to the office every 2 weeks to get your money transferred to you. And I did that, I think, for like maybe 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and I wasn't, maybe 2 months or 8 weeks maybe. And I wasn't able to keep up with it because I'm able to, like, you know, I'll apply for jobs and stuff like that, but the demand was just too much on my system back then, and I was like, I just couldn't cope with it. And I think like it was definitely a different place mentally, because I think at that time I just chose to starve. I think that was probably that was probably a choice, to starve for 2 years, not to have money to buy food, because I was just thinking, I just prefer starvation and maybe death rather than having to put up with the constant demand of the world to always have money. And that's probably a very childish perspective, but back then I was still hurting from grieving from, you know, death of a family member, and I was just not doing well, and I'm still not doing well, but back then it was worse. So yeah, I feel like I'm still stuck in that kind of period still now, 12 years later, and I'm not really sure how to move on and how to, like, what the next stage is. And this week has been very hard because I felt like yesterday I said in my vlog that there is this pressure to disappear. Like, I feel like it's an outside pressure that is, maybe it is an imaginary thing, but it just I just felt it with my whole body. It's like, as if like the universe is telling me, go away, don't exist. And so today when I was like doing the meditation and like doing all of that, and then that voice comes out again, like, oh, you know, I deserve to exist, and then I cry. Maybe it is a healing moment. You never know. Maybe I had too much caffeine. You never know. One thing I do recognize is just like, I think the more I let out my emotions out, like outside from my body, it's making things a lot easier, functioning wise, talking about it wise. Yesterday probably was the only time that I talked about my mother's passing so casually. Also, I was meeting someone after I finished up the vlog. I finished up the vlog in the middle of George Street, and because you know, I don't want them to be a part of, I don't want to shove a camera to their faces. I have to respect other people's privacy, obviously. Yeah, and I was just mentioning them, like, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, during childhood, like, this is what I like my food, my favorite food, because my mom used to make it. So now, and I have to explain, like, oh, my mom passed away, so I can't go to them and ask for it to be made for this, and for them to make this. And it's just a passing, and it's like, it's no longer a big deal now. Like, I can say that, like, just in passing, there is no emotional attachment to it anymore. Now it has become a fact. But yeah, so I have no idea if you guys are watching so far, I have no idea why, because this is so incoherent. But at least we're hanging out, we're spending time with each other. I'm getting used to like female bonding, which is basically just information dumping of what you did, who you met, what you talked to, and your whole network's activities. Meaning, like, this is what usually female bonding is like. Yeah, my grandson did this and this and did this, and then my granddaughter did this and this, and then my neighbor did this and this and this and this. So I think now I understand why, but in the past I didn't understand why. Now I understand it's because my theory is that you are not only you are also your network. So catching up on what you're up to is also means catching up on what the rest of your world, which is your network's up to. So your network is an extension of you. So what they're up to is constituted, and also it's part of what you're up to. I'm not sure if that's a good explanation. So for women, they're not just one person, they are also their whole network. And I think that's pretty cool. But I'm still not used to it, so I just listen to them and their whole update on their whole network, and I just update on mine. I'm like, oh, I went to the doctor yesterday. That's it. I am only my world. My world is only me. Like, yeah. My catch up is over after like 2 seconds. But yeah, that's not, I'm just processing a lot of life, I guess. And I feel like, I think in the past I would definitely felt so embarrassed because I'm a millennial, right? I'm a stereotypical millennial, I think. Because in the past I would definitely be offended when someone said something like, yeah, like, good luck finding a rich husband. Because every time I said I want to be rich, I just want to be rich, you know, someone would have to pipe up and say, oh, good luck finding a, you know, rich husband. I was always offended because I always meant it as I want to be the person who generated the money. But now, as a 40-year-old, 20 years later, I realized it's very hard to generate money when you don't really have any good foundations for your nervous system, mentally, emotionally, physically, and also socially. So maybe it is a good idea to have a merge and acquisition moment, i.e. by marriage, to attain this wealth rather than to generate it yourself. That's my current position on that. This hojicha is so good. It tastes sweet. It tastes sweet. It's still green tea though. So I'm starting to drink green tea because of the video I watched on TikTok about how green tea will help you with your lipodema for a dog. So I was saving that video for my friend's doggo, but at the same time I remember like I used to have this massive lipoma here on my upper thigh, and it was like huge, like a golf ball, like that, like okay, maybe like smaller than that, like. And then it got at 27 years old I got it removed surgically, and I thought about that and I realized, well, maybe there are more. Also, I have like, I think I have like lumps here too, but they're only painful during my period, so maybe I have endometriosis or whatever. And so I feel like, oh, maybe it's also lipoma or potential lipoma happening, because they said like if you have one lipoma, you probably have lots of them in your body, or potentially you will develop lots of them. So I decided to drink green tea because apparently it is quite helpful in dissolving it. And then the comments in that video was saying about, oh, it worked in my dog. And I'm like, okay, there's testimonials that it works on a dog, but it might work on me. You never know. Also, I will share that with my friend later if I meet them. I don't know when I will meet them. But also I'm considering, like, you know, I feel like I know I need to put effort to meet people, especially people outside from my local area, because I feel I also need to meet people that are either my age or either in the similar circumstances but better, probably, like there's a few steps ahead of me, so that I can either network and have an example where to go and what to do and stuff, and also not being surrounded by sickness and death from my local elderly community. And at the same time, I can't be with people that are too much younger, because we are definitely in a different life phase. Like, it's just different. I'm not saying they're less, I'm not saying that it's like, it's just very different. Like, there is a certain, like, you can tell what the generic life phases are, not including, you know, major traumas, not including major changes in their lives and stuff. But yeah, and this is so disorganized. Commercial break. Welcome to Valorant's commercial break. If you want merch, if you feel like you're forever misunderstood in your life, you can get the merch down the link description below. You can get hats like this one, pretty cool. You can get t-shirt, you can get a carry pouch, you can get your iPad cover, you can get some pat blanket, you can get some tote bags. I was going to get the tote bags, but I wasn't sure that I was going to use it because I have so many tote bags. I like talking to you guys. Maybe I should do this more. No. I think it's a good idea until I have to do it every day and then I become resentful of it. I don't know. We're just going to see how we go. The weather is heating up, so there's probably a lot more just staying inside and talking. probably. Because let's face it, I'm not talented enough to vlog chore videos. And also, yeah, I think that's also one of my issues right now. It's like I can see like my channel is not failing, but like it is trending down. And I feel like, I'm attached to it, I suppose. I'm attached to the result of my channel, and I'm feeling like a failure sometimes, because I'm like, everything is compounding, and I know it's probably like my low self-esteem because it's always attached to either a work result or my current money financial status. But yeah, when I see my other work also declining, my graphic earnings declining to a point where I'm now getting really scared, and then my YouTube is not taking off basically, which is probably quite real. Like, that's probably how it goes in reality. But like, comparing to my reactive optimism, which is probably not a real optimism, but more like a reactive trying to get revenge on a situation that was out of my control, of like, oh yeah, this is gonna work, we're gonna monetize this channel, and I'm gonna be flooded with lots of money. If you remember, like the last time we had this kind of conversation, like in the kitchen, it's like I was filled with a lot of, you know, passionate talk about I'm gonna be rich, I'm gonna be really really rich. Like, it's probably like, you can tell I was dysregulated. I'm dysregulated now, but like, it's a lot less than before. So yeah, so I think now it's just more reality. It's like, oh crap, it's not working out, money is not coming in, so what are we gonna do? And I do feel very much physically tired and not able to like actually think of what next. I feel like I've exhausted all my possible marbles on how to keep going, and I feel like I think I need to simplify it. I feel I need to find what I'm really good at, a talent, something that is very easy for me to do, that is going to earn me a lot of money, and with the least amount of work compared to what other people would have to put in, and milk that for what it's worth. And it has to be easy for me. I'm not saying it's easy for other people, because like, I've been watching a lot of escort videos on TikTok. Just stay here, it doesn't go where you think it's gonna go. And I'm like thinking, they work so hard. What they're doing for me is incredibly hard. I would not be able to do that. You have to see people to do escorting, to do SW, you know, full service work. Like, there's a lot of people you have to deal with. You have to deal with it to make sure that they go to their bookings, and then when they're in the bookings, you have to have a lot of interaction with them. You have to sell your emotions also, not only your physical assets to them. And I'm like, these people are like the opposite of me. I don't want to see people. Wow, like they you know, their people skills are like, and they also have to like wear lots of makeup, make sure like your face is always on point, your body is on point, spend so much money on like making sure your skin is great, making sure that you keep up with the appearance and stuff. I'm like, wow. the thing that I love about the videos is when they count the money there, and also when they buy like expensive shits, and like when they're like so openly saying like, I'm gonna milk money from this client because I want to see how far he would go before I do what he wanted to do. So in a lot of ways, like I actually really do enjoy seeing their videos, because it's so fun, because it's definitely outside of my realm of my world, basically outside of my world. It's definitely not my strength, so it's really fun to watch them and to listen to their stories. I'm definitely not one of those people, for sure. About like, how long ago? Yeah, when I was still doing streaming, like on Africa TV, I was like, oh, maybe I should try to be sexy. So when streaming 8 years ago made me about 32, 30, no, not 8 years, 7 years, so maybe around 33, 32, 34. So a full ass adult. But I still felt like I was a child. I still feel like a child now at 40 years old, actually. I have to remind myself I'm a middle-aged woman. If I do what the children do, the cops are gonna be called. Anyway, so I was like, I was trying to be sexy, and then cause like the audience were men, and then all the men in my chat was like, no, what are you doing? I never do it again. And it wasn't even like I'm trying to do like, you know, it wasn't even doing that. I was just telling a story, and then I was just trying to test the water a bit about telling sexual stories, because I think I was starting to get back into, no, I haven't actually. I haven't really gotten back to reading manhwa. But anyway, I think that was like, well, I was trying to make my chat a little bit like, you know, spice up my chat a bit. So I was trying to make up a story. It was innocent and stuff like that, and I think that they were enjoying it. But I think I just had an ego in my head, like, I'm an adult, I can do this. And then as soon as I go spearing off to the sexual part of the stories, everyone just goes, no, don't do that. And these are men who basically are going to you know, go to a different streamer and demand something quite explicit sometimes, and I feel like, why? I'm an adult too. I'm not like, it's definitely not me, it's definitely not my brand, and I have no intention of going there whatsoever. But I don't think that is what is required out of me, or that's not what the world wants from me, I suppose. I guess I just have to figure out what the world wants and what I can give that is quite easy and doesn't require too much of energy and effort to put together, and then sell it at the highest price. But I don't know, I feel like lately I'm feeling like, you know, failure, because I'm looking at it from a realistic sense. It's like I have a big aspirations, but probably not so much skills and talent to put it together, because the result is not saying that. So I am feeling a bit defeated. That's what 2024 feels like, being 40-year-old woman. No child. But you know what, I'm really glad that I don't have children. Why? Because imagine having children right now and I am still like this. It's like, I feel like if I had gotten married when I was in my 20s and have children, I would still be in the same position as I am now. You know, like that sliding doors moment, like that fading moment, like you can have, like, you know, sometimes in movie when you have like these split decisions, and then you have the destiny moment or fate moment, where regardless which path you take, it will still lead you to the same point of life again, and then, you know, your journey of life will keep going like that, and then maybe you will have like split decisions again, and they will kind of join, and then that point of like meeting up after you separated from making the decisions, that point is a fated moment. Like, you will not be able to avoid it, whatever happens, whatever decisions that you make. I feel like right now that's what my life is. It's like, even if I had chosen to, I don't know, maybe be a corporate girly for the past 12 years or something, something probably would have happened that will make sure that I am here still 40 years old. Or if I had chosen to have kids, like, I probably would like be divorced and be left with nothing, and then everyone betray me, and then I'm here again alone with my kids and then have to support them. So I feel like that it's right now the point where I am. I feel like it doesn't matter what choices I've made in the past. I feel like this is where it will end up as, because I feel this is the common point to make a different type of journey. And because I feel like life at the end of the day is also about that journey that you take. Like, it's not about the point of fate, but rather what the journey will be like for you as you make different decisions and have split versions of yourself, but they all come back together eventually. I'm not sure if it's comforting or not, because, you know, if that is the case, it's the fate moment still doesn't really, even though it's crucial, it should not be held higher than the journey moment, where basically where we're going to spend our 99% of our lives. Oh, my laundry is done. It's gonna be soon. It means I've been talking more than 1 hour and 20 minutes. That's how long the laundry cycle is. But yeah, anyway, I think that I should end this, because that's longer. It should not be longer than a laundry cycle. I will talk to you guys on Monday. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend. I know this chat vlog is probably very incoherent and has no point whatsoever. It's just like a brain dump, my info dump about a 40-year-old single woman still feeling like a child inside. Not really sure what's going on, without any career or without any past career whatsoever. So poor, and still delusional, still wanting to have marry a billionaire's family youngest son, not the only son. Anyway, still have access to tens of millions of dollars into my bank account. Live in a flush moment. Anyway, it's just for fun, okay guys, so don't take it too seriously. It's just what's in my brain, and I'm so glad that you guys are hanging out with me. If you guys reached this far so far, yeah, let me know in the comment. There is no word for the comment, so just comment on, I don't know, what do you want to do? Comment on what is your delusional dream. Mine is being part of a billionaire family and being included in that billionaire, kind, caring, rich family. For them to like me more and to be so relieved when I come along into their lives, because I'm the only one who can control their child because they can't control them their own. Anyway, yeah, tell me your delusional dream. We're gonna make sure that we all will have a chance on making it come true by wishing it. Anyway, see you guys, have a good one. I'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone.